Good morning and welcome everybody. Welcome to the Retired Living Truth Series, and today's topic, the truth about senior community living, getting the inside scoop. My name is Brett Janelle, one of the hosts and founders of the Truth Series.
And I'm Annette Janelle.
Yeah. Yeah. She makes me look good, so yeah. So today's going to be a little bit different. I'm just curious, who's been to one of our seminars before on senior community living? I saw all those hands go up. On senior community living specifically, so quite a number. So we kind of do it every other year or sometimes every year because it's a topic of interest. We keep being asked to do it. But we're going to do it a little differently today. And when I say differently, we had some great success last year. I think we had a panel of people who had gone through the process of downsizing, didn't we?
That's right. At the end of last year, we had 3 or 4 people on the panel that had actually gone through the full process of downsizing. They didn't necessarily all move into a senior community. They all had different experiences. But the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. They liked hearing from people that have gone through the experience. So we decided today we would include people that are living in senior communities so you can hear directly from them what their thoughts are and what they like, don't like, the whole process.
Yeah, and then we have representatives from the community as well who are going to be on the panel. So we're going to have 2 sets of panelists today, which will be a little bit different from what we've done in the past. So today's really going to be more about what are the questions that we need to ask, or how do we go about selecting a community if we're choosing to move into a community at some point in the future. Not so much about what the communities provide, but just so you have some context, if you haven't been to one of the previous seminars, we did record one back in March. Was it March of last year? I think I said July. One last year called The Truth About Choosing a Retired Living Community. And that is available on the Retired Living Truth Series website if you want to go back and watch it. It also has some great handouts with questions to ask if you're looking at different communities. But Annette, do you want to quickly describe the 3 types of communities that we're talking about today?
Yes, we're going to be focusing on independent living, assisted living, and memory care. Those are the 3 communities that we have that focus in this area. And so a lot of the people, if you're independent, you're thriving, you're doing great, you don't need help, it's just like a regular apartment. If assisted living, you do get care, you get as you need it. So as you need more assistance, you pay for those certain levels of whatever you need. And it is licensed by the state. And then memory care, also licensed by the state. It's a locked facility so that you're safe or your loved one is safe and isn't wandering around.
Thank you, Annette. So if you're looking for the recording of the one that we did, I think it was March last year, not July. I think that was a typo or my mistake. But if you go to the Retired Living Truth Series website, so Retired Living Truth Series, which is up on the slide, and it's in your handout as well, so you don't have to write it down, it is in the handout. And then if you go up to the top where it says past events, and then scroll down, you're looking for the one that's got the little picture of the ABC, the truth about senior living options for those who aren't ready yet. So you can go and replay that, and then there's a handout that goes with it as well, and that would kind of catch you up on the different communities types that we have. In addition, we'll talk a little bit later, we're going to do some community tours as well, so that'll be another opportunity to learn more about our different communities here in the area. So I think with that, if I could have my panelists come up and join me. Lisa, Sal, Susie. So let's, good morning. Let's turn on our microphones. And let me start with you, Lisa. If you could introduce who you are and why you're here today for this topic.
Certainly. Good morning, everyone. Lisa Arch from Premier Residences of Reno. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing there. I began my career as a volunteer for a non-for-profit, and then actually it just grew from there. I ended up getting my CNA and being a caregiver and, really hands-on, and then from here it's been a passion, and I get to do what I love every day.
Wonderful. Thank you. Welcome. Sal.
Hello, my name is Sal Gomez-Orozco, and I'm the Executive Director for Morningstar Senior Living of Sparks. And I'm here because I basically grew up in the industry, started off as a dishwasher, worked my way up from there to now being the Executive Director of a facility, and just here to be as helpful and as educational as I can be.
Thank you, Sal. Susie.
Susie Kaczynski from the New Somerset Senior Living in Northwest Reno. I, as a child, always felt more comfortable around the more mature people in my family than my current aged kids. And that's because I've always had a passion for working with an older population. And hence, that's why I am in senior living, because I get to use my God-given treasures and talents and pass it on. I have been in other communities, but very pleased to support all, the neighborhoods here. We're just neighbors helping neighbors, and I appreciate this type of workshop as well, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it too.
Thank you, Susie. So thank you so much for giving up your time to be here to help us today. So maybe I could start with you, Lisa. As we all know, we have lots of wonderful communities here in the area. They all have different amenities, different pricing structures, offer a whole range of different things depending on what it is you're looking for. But what's one piece of advice you would give the audience if they are looking potentially to move into a community at some point in the future? What's one thing they should evaluate?
Well, I think you really have to take into consideration your lifestyle. So what is your lifestyle and what kind of cultural experiences you are seeking? And we kind of had a discussion about, really the 5 very main things that, and I'll let everyone elaborate, but, you want to look at lifestyle, the culture, what type of culture, what kind of activities are there available to you, and what kind of social outlets. And that really helps you narrow it down.
Fantastic. Okay, so lifestyle. Sal, do you want to touch on one of the ones Lisa mentioned, or do you have another?
Yeah, for me, it's honestly a lot of has to do with culture. When you're walking through a community, when you're interacting with people there, whether it be the salesperson, the concierge, or the residents, it's how do they look? How do they feel? How do they sound? Do people approach you? Do people say hi to you? Or are you just kind of a ship passing in the night and no one acknowledges anybody? So a lot of it is that culture of, like, how does this feel to me as a new person walking in? My general advice to people is just trust your gut instinct. If it feels great, go with that. You can explain away anything else, right, that might not be perfect for you, but as long as it feels right to you, it's right for you.
Thank you, Sal. Susie, what would you...
Location is often a consideration for some folks. We certainly hope that that's not the deciding factor, because there is such great lifestyle opportunities and culture to engage in. Location is a big one. And then the final one is consideration of a community that offers continuum of care, so that as needs change, you have less disruption to your normal life, and then can potentially receive services should that need exist. So continuum of care and location.
Thank you, Susie. Do you have another one, Lisa?
Well, we talked about activities.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, because the thing is that as you aging in home, maybe you're not able to drive. Now you are more and more isolated. You're not able to take advantage of the things or the programs or the classes, or maybe you're meeting with your friends for bridge and things like that. That really narrows your scope. And so you slowly become more socially isolated as well. And that is a big concern. We all know that one of the hallmarks of health into our older years is that we have social connections, we have activities that we enjoy, and with that also nutrition. So it's much more fun to join somebody in a meal than to sit at home and just kind of nibble on that tea and toast, we call it. So
Thank you. So Sal, Lisa just mentioned nutrition, meals. We all have to eat 3 times a day, or maybe twice a day, most of us. Should we be considering that, or is it the same with all communities?
You should absolutely be considering that, and I highly encourage everybody, when you go to our community, ask to try their meals, have them invite you for lunch or dinner. It's, you're going to be spending a lot of money at these communities, and you hope that you're spending a lot of money to get your stomach filled with good food as well, right? You can cook at home, that's fine, but if you're going to be spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, whatever it might be, you want something more than just a grilled cheese every single day, right? So always testing their food just to make sure that it's what you like, because that menu is going to be stuck with you for a good bit of time, right? So getting to know that, getting to make sure that you like the food that's being put on for you.
Wonderful. Then Susie, you mentioned, I think, amenities, can vary? What did
They
you mean
certainly
by that?
can. And the population at a community will dictate different types of activities also. So that's key to what Lisa chatted about regarding lifestyle. And then to really take a look at the diversified events and activities hosted by the communities and what's the participation level like. You know, all communities are shifting and modifying to serve the population, and the activities are diverse, and name it and claim it. If you like outdoor activities around the beautiful complexes, there's outdoor space with things like putting greens and bocce ball and pickleball, gardening boxes, walking paths, those outdoor type activities. And then, of course, it's the internal things and that are done in the community. And you want to, the activities that you want to pay particular attention to are those that you enjoy and appeal to all five senses. Additionally, your own spirituality, your faith background, like I said, who's participating in them? Is it appealing to a wider base of residents, or is it the same old kind of activities, none of which you were really interested in except that one sip and paint that you have once a month? So just be a discerning consumer, know your lifestyle, and then match your life cycle and the amenities that you desire. With that, is there a community that has absolutely everything that the other communities have? No, that's how you as consumers have choice. So it rests with you to determine the important factors and then to engage in those activities at the communities.
Thank you, Susie. I like that idea of sip and paint. I assume it's like sipping wine or whatever your favourite beverage is. And yeah, excellent. I might have to come and join in on that activity. So Lisa, so when someone comes and meets you and they're considering your community, how do you go about helping them determine if your community is the right community for them?
Well, you'll find when we tour that our role as sales folks is really to listen to you and listen and listen, because that is what's really your person is what we learn from. What amenities would match what your needs are. And so, you know, say someone has just had to give up their driving due to macular, you know, I'm going to talk about how many options you're going to have with our transportation, getting to you to the doctor's office, or maybe you would like to go to lunch and meet friends and things like that. So that's where we start our relationship together, is really trying to build some mutual trust and to understand what your needs are, you know, and to be honest, you know, sometimes there's folks that, you know, I can't, we can't, and we're not a good fit for them because maybe their healthcare needs exceed what my property can do. And so and then normally there's a referral, and that's like Susie said, we work together. So when we know it's not right for us, we're making phone calls and introductions so that you don't have to waste your time going to yet so many other properties. Hopefully we can kind of help that referral
So
better.
you have a good idea that maybe
Yeah.
Susie's or
Susie,
Sal's would be more
Sal's
appropriate.
would be better. Exactly. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. What would you like to add, Sal?
Just kind of building off of that, just the honesty, right? I'd be doing you guys a disservice if I know that I can't meet your needs and your desires just to get a move in, right? That's an unethical way of going about things. Sure, I'll get my census up for the month, but in the long run, you won't be happy, and that'll in turn become an issue that comes to my desk, right? So being honest, if I know that I'm not going to be the best fit for you, if I know that Susie or Lisa Community or any other community here in Reno is going to be a better match, either based on amenities, price, location. I mean, if you tell me you want to stay within a couple miles of all your friends and they're all in central Reno, I'm in Wingfield Springs, I'm not gonna put you through that ringer. Like, let me make a call, let me introduce you, get you in touch with Lisa and hand you off that way. That way you're getting what you actually want, and I can feel good about myself and sleep at night.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Sal. Lisa, Susie.
sometimes when you come into the communities, we ask a lot of questions. And that's a critical piece because we need to know what's important to you. And some people just want to come in and look around and say, yes, no, this is for me. This is not for me. Well, there's a whole lot more that goes into this big decision. And so we ask questions that help facilitate and uncover your needs. What's important to you? And then we'll all attempt to meet features and benefits to those needs. And so we're not prying, we're not trying to get an individual to share us the intimate details of things, but there are some very standard questions that you can answer honestly that we like to have addressed, so we know best how to help you.
So just on that, what are some examples of where someone might not be a good fit? Lisa, you'd mentioned health. Are there other times where you'd say, yeah, this is not a good fit? You mentioned location cell, but Susie, what's one that comes to mind for you where you might be referring them to another community?
Availability tends to be the biggest concern. Because we all have a finite number of unit types available. And when they're occupied, they're occupied. And if your need is urgent, which oftentimes that's what precipitates your interest in senior living, then you may have to, and you choose a facility, but it doesn't have the type of unit that you desire. That's where we then make referrals to other communities that may have that kind of unit type for you. And we'll address that a little more as the topic goes on, but availability tends to be the biggest concern of the type of unit you prefer.
Thank you. Does any others come to mind, Sal?
Yeah, one that I hear somewhat often is just the size of my community in particular, because it is large, and I'm sure, Lisa, you hear the same thing.
Sorry, we're working on it.
I think it...
Got it?
Hello?
Oh, we just went dead.
Try again now, Sal.
Hello? Okay, I'm back. It's just the size of my community and Lisa's community. We're both larger communities here in town, and that can be imposing for a lot of people, especially when people start thinking about their first day there. It's a lot to take in. So if I get that vibe from somebody, if I'm getting that's just too much for them, I'm going to refer them to a slightly smaller community because that's just going to be better for them in the long term. My size of my building is just not the right fit, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with telling me that. If you do tell me that, I can help you out with that.
Lisa?
Yeah, and that goes back to lifestyle, really, too. I think one of the reasons that sometimes those referrals occur, too, is that if a person has really stayed home too long and their healthcare needs now exceed what perhaps independent living can offer. There's a lot of licensure that goes around and is surrounded what can be provided in each category. And then it's sometimes it's so hard because that person a year ago would have been there to thrive and just to have a wonderful time perhaps before their health took a turn, but now we've already skipped way over. And that's a consideration, and I know that's a hard conversation to have with yourself too. So I appreciate that.
So let's change gears a little bit. I'd like to know what are the biggest challenges that prospective residents have when they come and meet you, trying to determine where to move to, and then once they've moved in, the kind of challenges, if there are any, that they might experience. Who'd like to start?
I will.
Susie?
Yeah. It's the idea of giving up independence. I've lived my life this way for how many years, and I want to come and go and do just what I want, and I want to eat my meals when I want, and that often is a stumbling block to people for even just asking and getting education and information. And I applaud all of you for being at these types of workshops, because that's exactly what we're providing. It's far better to make an educated decision with both intellect and emotion than it is to have to make a decision in a crisis situation, because it is a big choice. It is a big decision. And so really looking into that first, I believe is the first step, really.
Thank you, Susie. Do you want to touch on the tours, why our audience might want to consider the tours that we're going to talk about a little bit later?
Absolutely. You know, we all think that we're in our forever home, but things change. And so in our industry, when we chat with people, we say we're with senior living, and like, oh, I'd never do something like that. I'm going to live forever in my home. Well, we're not here to hard sell you on anything. We're here to educate the population about what may be available should the need arise. And none of us have a crystal ball, do we? You don't know what's going to happen. Things can change in your life in an instant. And so being proactive instead of reactive is why we do these workshops. It's why we offer tours for people to come in. None of us approach it from a hardcore sales aspect because we want you to have information and the facts about all your options so that you can make best decisions for yourself. Or you make the decisions, not your loved ones making decisions for you in a crisis situation. It's your life to live. Why not get the information, see the see the communities, and then you have a better perspective of what it's all about.
Thank you, Susie. So I have a plan B. I'm going to stay in my house forever, but if something happens, here's my plan B. I want to be at Somerset or whatever the case may be. So Sal, what would you like to add in terms of challenges people have in choosing a community and then adapting once they've moved into the community?
For me, a challenge I hear often from residents who are moving in is just the actual moving in process, right? Once you have come to that decision to move into a community, whether it be as a result of something you planned or unfortunately the crisis that we've been talking about up here, which does happen more often than, and I think any of us would like, it's the actual moving, right? It's downsizing, it's getting everything prepared, packed, knowing what you're going to keep, what you're going to take. Do you really need that credenza you've had for 35 years that collects dust? Like, who knows, right? And I think that's where we can come into play and just be educational, right? Even if you're not going to move in with me, I can still tell you about services here in town that can help out with that help make that still a little bit of a kink in the neck, right? But not as big of a nightmare. Just to make that process easier. And it's one thing when you're doing that as a pre-planned thing, but when you are in that crisis mode, like Susie and Lisa touched on, it just becomes that much harder. Trying to find a mover and somebody pack all your stuff up from a hospital bed, nigh on impossible.
Thank you, Sal. Lisa, what would you add?
Well, I would say, I think everyone worries about what it's going to feel like. When I walk into the dining room and there's all these new faces, and maybe it's been a while since you've had to, kind of stretch that social muscle, and I think that can be intimidating. But I know for a fact, all of us, we have welcome committees. We have folks that come and meet you and greet you, help set up a time that with another buddy to go to dinner or lunch and things like that. So I think it's it can feel it's like kindergarten on the first day. But there are a lot of things that we have in place since we've seen it, and we want our residents to be happy. And, soon, time just flies, and all of a sudden you're just a part of the community. You've made friends, you're engaged, and it can be really wonderful then. So just, you have to be brave.
So speaking of residents, I have 4 amazing residents from different communities I had the pleasure of spending some time with earlier this week. I'd love to have them come up, but before we do, is there any last pieces of advice that we've missed that are important, or should we have our residents come up?
I think you guys are eager to hear their experiences, so.
So let's get the inside scoop from the residents. So, thank you, Lisa, Sal, Susie. And just while they're coming up to join me, for those who are wanting to know what are the different communities that we have here in Reno, Sparks, Carson City, if you go to our website, and this is all in your handout if you're interested to know, we have a map on our website with all of the communities, whether they're independent living, assisted living, memory care, and then you can click on each community on the map to find out more information. We also have a senior community directory that has all the different communities within the area. So if you'd like a copy of that, it's on the website, or we have hard copies here. So on the Janelle Realty Group table, the Janelle Moves Made Easy table, we have the Senior Living Directory that we update each year. And if you'd like a copy of that, feel free on your way out to grab that. And it has, how many communities are in it? A lot. And they're all broken down by the different categories. And thank you, Kim, for helping update it again this year. People really appreciate that as a resource. Well, you guys are here. So I'm so excited to have Claire, Billy, Sid, and Joe join me. They were so much fun earlier in the week when we met, and I got to hear all about them. So I'd like to start with you, Claire. Could you just tell us a little bit about how you came to be in a senior living community here in town?
Well, we migrated from the East Coast as our family was living out here. We had been in a senior living community there in Florida, as a matter of fact. So we were familiar with the type of living and lifestyle. I came out to visit our son and kind of fell in love with the area and said, well, let's look around. So we did, visited several places, and decided on Morningstar.
And how long have you been at Morningstar, Claire?
About 3 years.
And where is your son now, who was in Sparks?
He's in California. Guess what?
So life changes, doesn't it? Yeah. Wonderful. So Billy, how long have you been where you are now, and how did that all come about?
I've been at Five-Star Premier for a little over a year. I had lived in another facility because I was not aware of these services, and the main reason that I started looking for them is a lot of reasons that a lot of people do is the fact that I was living by myself in an apartment. My friends there were passing away. I didn't know it, and I became very, very isolated. So I had a friend that had family that was in one of the facilities. I went to look at that, opened my eyes to the fact that we have these kinds of services, and did also look around town, and even outside of town, more or less. And so I went to one facility, one community, and I wasn't really, didn't know what to look for. But I liked what I saw. Like you say, people engaged with me, and I didn't have a meal, but everything appeared to be okay. After I moved in, and I was there about 6 months, I realized there were things here that I did not like. It wasn't that they weren't comfortable. I did not like it. So I decided to look around again. And of the different places that I had gone to, I knew what to look for, and consequently was able to make a decision it was time for me to move. And so I had to make a move, which is costly. So keep that in mind. Pay attention to what you're looking at. It's really important that you like what you see, and it's difficult. You do need to go to different places in order to have comparisons. And enjoy your stay, because it's wonderful. It is wonderful here now.
So I think the good thing out of that, Billy, is it's not permanent. If we do hopefully we get it right the first time, but if we don't, we can change it and go somewhere else, just like anything in life. As my wife Annette always says, she repeats a quote, if you don't like the seat you're sitting in, get up and sit somewhere else. And I just love that quote. Yeah. So Joe, how did you come to be at Somerset, and how long have you been there?
We've only been at Somerset for a month. But have been delighted. We lived in Truckee for 25 years, and our friends were starting to move off the mountain or pass away. And I do not, my eyes are bad, my hands are bad, and I didn't want to cook anymore. We had driven up and down because we did a lot of shopping in Reno, and had watched Somerset being built, and were curious. And came in, visited, and found out the fact that we could stay in the same, we're independent living right now, but know that there'll be future, we need help. And really like the idea that we could stay in our room and acquire the help that we needed as we did.
Thank you, Joe. Did you have anything you want to add to that, Sid, or I have another question for you? Another question?
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Perfect. So how did you determine that Somerset was the right community for you?
Well, we've been living up and down the coast from San Diego to...
Can you hold it just a little closer, Sid? Thanks.
We've lived from San Diego to Portland, Oregon, and in that process, we visited a number of different communities. Unfortunately, my brother lived in one, and my mother lived in one, and Joe's parents also. So long before we arrived here, we had an opportunity to see what is around and in the community. So it wasn't hard for us to decide what we wanted and what was comfortable. My little speech would be, look while you can and decide before you have to.
Great advice. Look while you can, decide before you have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. So, Billy, how did you decide that the community you are in now, 5-star, was the right community? And you have some good contrast, because as you said, you were in a community prior to that.
Yes. Well, the problems that I was having in the first community were, needless to say, priorities of what I was going to look for now. And I'm a very social person. I'm also a bit of a clean freak. And I debating as to whether or not I was going to give up my driving. So these were things that were most important to me. So the friendliness of the staff that I dealt with at 5-star, and also just the people in general, was very, very good. You know, I had a lot of a nice exposure. And then when it came to cleanliness, I was much more aware of what to look for. This is my home. So, you know, even the exterior parts, the hallways, you know, the grounds, your lobby area, all of those things are important to me, because if the staff isn't doing their job, I'm not going to be happy. So those were things that I looked for. Also, the warmth of the building, the decor of the building, again, the friendliness of the people that came up to me helped me make that decision also. So I was, and I could feel it when I walked in there also. I think that's another thing. Just how you feel about it. Some places are very formal. I'm not formal. I would like to be a little bit more relaxed, and some places were way too relaxed. So 5-star was my choice. I hope you find yours as easily as I did with that one.
So just on that, Billy, without mentioning who that other community was, just to help people in terms of looking for things, because you're very smart, you're well educated. How is it that that first community, was that the first one you had been to and just decided on that?
No, I had been to a lot of different communities. I've been looking over the years. My husband has been disabled and for many years, so I had already looked into it, but I hadn't been for probably 7 or 8 years since I started to look for myself. Pardon me. But I had visited the ones in town then, because I knew I did not want to be further out of town. I also am very familiar. I've been in Reno over 20 years, so I wanted to stay pretty much in the community that I knew, because I do still drive. And it's important if you're coming from another area and everything is really new. Your home ground needs to be really comfortable, but again, all of our communities here offer transportation, so that was off my list at the moment. But just how I felt about them when I walked in.
So if we went back, what would you have done differently in hindsight, just to help our audience not to have been in that first community? What could you have done to avoid that if you think back? What did we miss, just to help people here?
Well, what you're doing
Oh.
Turn it on. What you're doing right now is the best thing you could do. Become aware of what it is that you need to be aware of. Also, what is out there to help you make it an easier move. Talk to more people as you know, within these areas here. You know, the services that you have. Find out about that. all of that, I didn't have any that I was going out blind, other than what I had looked for years before. And I wasn't aware of the services that we have. Reno is really well set up, but that was my biggest issue. I had not been advised in any way, shape, or form what to be looking forward to, and I have no one in my family that's ever lived in independent or assisted living. So it was just really difficult for me, and this will make it much easier for you.
Thank you, Billy. So Claire, how did you determine that the community you're in at Morningstar was the right community for you?
Well, from the moment we walked into the community, it was welcoming. It felt like coming home, and we had a very nice tour. My son and myself had gone on the tours and had a delicious meal, talked to people in the dining room, and it just had a good feel about it. We went on to visit 2 or 3 other communities. They just did not have the same feel and appeal to me. My husband is now legally blind, so by being in a community as we are, he is familiar with the hallways. He can get around. He can go down to the gym and work out. And it's just giving him still a quality of life. And I'm pretty active in things, in activities, and the community as a whole. So it's given me that outlet. What you need to hang on to is a purpose in life. And by coming into a community gives you that opportunity. And aren't we lucky to have choices? Not everybody does. So don't go kicking and screaming or going in with a negative attitude. Look at this as just another step, another phase. It all depends upon your attitude. And believe me, there are a lot of days we all need attitude adjustments. But really, I can't say enough about the community living. It's your extended family. It's a good way to go.
And what did you mean, Claire, when you said purpose? What did you mean by that?
Purpose? Well, you're old. Hey, let's face it, we're not going to get any younger. And we say, oh, well, our hands are getting pretty stiff, and maybe it's not easy for us to do the needlework that we used to do. So what else can you do? Look around. You can volunteer in your community. Is this?
No,
yeah,
you're good, Claire,
I guess it's okay. You can volunteer in your community. You can expand. Maybe you've thought about writing stories, or you're even doing genealogy. Find something that gets you up every day and keeps you interested, and just be involved.
Wonderful. And that's the great thing about the communities. There's so many different activities and personalities and things to find purpose if you don't already have it.
Right.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. So while we're talking, actually, let me jump down to you, Sid and Joanne. What are the top 2 to 3 things that you love about living in the community? I know Joanne's number 1.
It's comfortable. And it's safe. You don't have to worry other than your personal stuff. You don't have to worry about the trash. You don't have to worry about cleaning the facility as long as it meets your standards. Other people are taking care of you, basically. So it's a chance to do all the things that you'd like to do and maybe you didn't have time to do before. So that's what I would say an answer to your question.
And were there any surprises or challenges when you moved in? Unexpected? It's like, oh, I didn't realize this is how it was going to be.
I shouldn't say this. It was easy.
It was easy. Well, I like that.
The reason it was easy is our son purchased our condominium in Truckee with everything in it. We didn't have... That's downsizing.
That is. Wonderful. What about you, Joe? What are your top 2 to 3 things about living in a community that you love?
I love having somebody else cook my food, and we play games and have gotten to know the people, and we laugh together and have a good time together. And the social part is really important to me.
And you mentioned not only is it having someone else to cook, but you don't have to go shopping anymore for groceries.
Exactly. Don't have to go shopping.
Perfect. What about you? Well, actually, before I move on, Joe, any challenges or surprises that you weren't expecting?
For us, it's been navigating the medical system coming from California. It has been an adjustment, but then the medical system is an adjustment for our age anyway.
Okay, so medical. So Billy, top 2 to 3 things that you love about being in your community, your new lifestyle.
Pretty much what everyone is saying here. I don't like to cook, even if I could do it. I like the fact that I have the time to do what it is that I want or need to do. I don't have to juggle things as much. I enjoy shopping, so I can go shopping if I like. Where I am, I have my apartment is like an apartment. I have a full-size refrigerator, a smaller stove, but all of these things were very important because at first I thought, well, I'm not going to eat downstairs. I'll cook what I like and eat when I want. It's so much nicer to go downstairs. It's like visiting with family, and before you know it, dinner is over. Our lunch or breakfast. I go for breakfast and dinner only. I don't do lunch, even though it's available. But yes, it's was the hardest thing of all was to, I don't know what I'm letting go of, but being so uptight about being there in the first place. I did not actually lose my independence, but I kind of felt like maybe I would if I wasn't careful. You don't. It's all what you want. You're not pushed. You're not shoved. You have friends that help you even not think about it anymore.
So if you don't want to eat, you don't have to eat?
That's right.
If you're hungry and want more, you can get more?
That's me. As you can see, I'm not very big. I'm not, I eat because God says the body needs to be fed. And beyond that, unless it's, like a really nice chocolate cake. Otherwise, I'm just out to lunch in my own apartment.
And is there a variety of food?
The variety is very nice. I have no issues with the food that we have. And I like the hours, although we are not open all through the afternoon, as a lot of places are. We do have a little cafe that you can go for a snack or a latte or, whatever. I don't find it to be difficult to manage my life around what little bit of structure there is there for you. The structure is what you want it to be. And I found that to be also it made me not feel like I was losing my independence.
Wonderful. Claire, top 2 to 3 things you love about being in your community.
Do I have to keep it to 3?
No, you can, if you've got, let's keep it to less than 10.
Well, first of all, our meal services, they spoil us. We have a menu, an extensive menu, and we do have all-day dining. So if you have an appointment, you come back at 3 o'clock, you can get your lunch. We have a terrific wait staff. They've managed to bring in these young people or older people who genuinely like to converse with us, have fun with us, joke with us. So that is that's your social time. And we've been known as a group of us that kind of sit around after meals and we've been known to still be in the dining room at 10 o'clock at night. They kind of clean around us. So it's like being at home around the family table. And we have activities galore, inside, outdoor, and indoor activities. We have movies every night. There's just a lot to engage you. We have an ambassador program, which is, we actually make little invitations and cards out before someone moves in to welcome them with our name and our telephone number. So if they have questions before they even move in, they can call a resident and get the answer. When they actually move in, a representative will take them down to the dining room, have a meal, introduce them around, and give them a tour, give them kind of the inside scoop, and it makes the transition a little easier, and then you have a point man. So if you have any questions in the future. So anyway, I think I'm happy.
I know you're happy, yeah. And then you even mentioned you have a table for those new residents as well until they start to get to know people.
Well, we have had times when we've had several come in at the same time. We reserve a table so that the new residents can come in and go to that table. They feel comfortable because they're all new, but they still have an ambassador to fall back on. But we've had instances where that same group is still eating together. We have to then do another resident table because they've decided to stay and eat together every day. But people do move around, and that's one way. It's your social time, actually.
And did you have any challenges to overcome when you had moved in?
Well, we had been in communities before, but we had lived in cottages where you went into the main building for your meals and you had housekeeping and that sort of thing. So it was our first time living in an apartment. And when you're coming from a home and going into it, it's different, you know, but it's also warm and secure. I know lots of times at night, if I've been out playing cards or with a group, and I'm walking back to my apartment, and I think, oh, this just feels nice. It's comfortable, and aren't I lucky to be able to be here? But there is that transition. You're in a communal living situation. You're not going to like everybody. I mean, and everybody's not going to like you, but you're going to find people that you will be drawn to. As far as, no, I think, well, you know, it's like a marriage. You really don't know what it's going to be like until you're there. Right? So when you're going and you're starting to look on your first time, on your first community, questions will come up. And when you get home and you talk, do a pros and a con. You know, write down the things you really like and the things you're kind of questioning. And as you go to the next community, you've got better questions to ask and more involved, and so on and so on. But you'll come back to your gut instinct, is what happens.
So it's a learning process from what you're saying, visiting the different communities and
it is.
Learning.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But it's state of mind, too. And it's the best thing you can do for your family. They know you are settled. If anything comes up, you've got an emergency bell to push. Someone will respond immediately. They don't have to worry about getting a call at 3 a.m. in the morning when they're 2 hours away. So this is the best thing you can do for your family, is to make yourself secure and happy.
And you mentioned that really comes down to attitude, though. We can be proactive or we can wait for a crisis.
You know, every day you get up, you have a choice. You can make the best of the day or the worst of the day, and everybody around you miserable. So personally, I think I would choose the happy, the better of the two.
And you were mentioning those who do have a good attitude adapt really well. Those who come kicking and screaming obviously have a much more challenging time of it.
They really do, and and also people aren't drawn to you if you're very negative or complaining. It's just human nature. We all like to feel good if we have a choice. So if someone is giving off those vibes, you're not going to be drawn to them. So you just try and get to know people and what their experiences are. When you stop and think of it, my goodness, everybody has a story, and they're basically, we're of a generation, and we're going with the times. We're still keeping our memories alive, and we're able to share them with people that understand us, you know, that have been through the same things. So, yeah.
Thank you. I'm just curious, do you have a special table in the dining room for those people who need an attitude adjustment or a little prickly? Do they get a special table together? I'm just kidding.
I wish.
You wish. So, Billy, is there anything that you would have done different in hindsight if you had to do this all over again?
I would say my biggest thought on that would be I would like to have been more informed and had the opportunities that I have now with the knowledge that I have. And I guess the other thing, too, is just like what Clara said. The biggest challenge with me also, leaving my where I lived to go to a living community like this, was attitude. I had finally decided myself, I didn't have my family pushing me, but I must say, since I have moved in it and I'm in this community that I'm in, and my family has been here to visit me, they are so much more relieved, and they're verbal about it. So I was lucky with that. A lot of times children don't want to say anything except that you're going to do what, you know, the second mother wants you to do. But I just wished I'd had more knowledge of what to look for, and the fact that I at least was doing it on my own terms. I didn't have someone pushing me. That's another difficult part.
Thank you. Joe, in hindsight, is there anything you would have done differently, either in the selection process or in acclimating to your new community?
I have to say it just all fell into place for us. We're on the same page, and it just all worked out very well. And the timing was amazing. So I'm very grateful.
Wonderful. And Sid?
I have to agree with my wife.
You're a very smart man, Sid.
Well, we were blessed with...
Just hold it a little closer, Sid.
We were blessed with family members who preceded us and sort of paved the way. So it made it much easier.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. So what we'd like to do next is open it up to your questions of our residents or the sales staff from the communities. Yeah, let's start with the first person.
Okay, but I don't know how they... First of all, I just wanted to, I told you this to Brett, if y'all could get your kids to come with you, and I've been coming with my dad, I'm now bringing my husband, and we're learning so much to help my dad through this journey and to get us set up. Just throwing that out there. Also,
Can I just say thank you for saying that? Because you approached me last month.
I did.
I actually have it written down here to say that.
Okay.
And I totally forgot with everything going on.
No.
So thank you for helping me
I'm
out.
I don't know if kids can take off or work or whatever. We're really lucky we can. But we are learning a lot to help our parents through this journey.
And it's a team, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
It's
we're
a
a team.
really big effort. So I brought my dad out here from Florida. We're on a totally different spectrum with the spouse. His wife would need memory care, and he's totally independent. Do y'all offer those? Like, could he just get help and not have her in a memory care? Or has anyone dealt with that? Like just living together and not in different parts of the facility?
Great
community.
question. Susie's going to take that.
Great question. Very good question. So the communities are all going to be a little different. And so if it's critical that the couple always stays together, then you need to chat with the community if that is an option. Some offer it, some do not. For those that are together with couples, if the other spouse can continue to assist the other, that is always a much easier opportunity. An assessment is done on every resident basically before they reside in a community. And that then dictates what kind of care services, what can be managed by the other spouse, what is necessary. Some communities will, like I said, keep them together in a unit. Other communities, if, as an example, one has memory loss, that also includes an elopement risk. Can the other spouse who's not an elopement risk reside with them? Or do they have to reside separately? Those are great questions to ask of each community. And each will share their policies and procedures regarding that.
Thank you, Susie. Joe.
Yes. Am I on?
You are,
Okay.
Joe.
I would. This would be for Claire or Billy. How involved is the manager or executive director of the place where you are? Does he or she leave it to the staff to run things, or is that manager into everything?
Well, I'll go ahead.
And Claire, Sal's standing right behind you.
Pardon me?
I'm just kidding.
Do you want to?
No. Just be careful what you say, or there might be no dinner
No.
tonight.
Our director, Sal, has an open door policy. When the doors open, you can walk in with any problems or any concerns that you have. For the most part, he leaves his very capable staff to take care of their departments. We have a life enrichment director, otherwise known as activities. And we have a dining room supervisor who's extremely personable and has a great singing voice. And these people and our concierge people who greet you, who are always there, have answers for everything. If they don't have the answer, they'll get it for you. We have an office manager who also has an open door policy if you have any questions on your rent or your charges or that sort of thing. So, yes, I mean, he's there, and we're aware of it.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
Billy, similar? Yep.
Yes, we have basically the same kinds of services, and they're all very personable. I have spoken with probably all of the management at one time or another because they're out and about.
Perfect. Thank you, Billy. It looks like you get dinner too. Claire gets dinner. You just kidding. Danielle.
Is this on? Okay. My question is in regards to pets any of you moved in, particularly a dog, how did they adjust to the community? And what?
Oh, Sadie loves retirement. Oh my gosh, in Morningstar, the concierge has a little tin in the back of the cupboard with goodies, and after our morning walk, she goes right to that area, and they're actually training her more than I did. They make her sit and stay, and she gets rewarded. No, they do very well. Dogs are like people. They don't always like each other, but you have they're on a leash. There are things, considerations as far as barking in the apartments, or making sure you take them outside and you pick up after yourself. There's like in any community, but no, and we're on the 3rd floor. So that means I have to go down the elevator. We take the stairs sometimes, and the elevator, she chooses. We go out the door. She either goes right, we go down the stairs, to the left, the elevator. So anyway, no, the adjustment has been very, very good. And the other animals we have in the community, I've found that to be true also.
Thank you. Jeff?
Hi, I have a message for Sal. My parents live here in Sparks, and I live in Seattle, and my father has dementia. Give it a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say he's probably at a 3, because there's things he can still do. My mom does not have dementia, but they do not want to live apart, period. So even if Dad got to the highest level of 10, could they still live in the same room or same building with each other, or would they have to be separated?
So I think... Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear myself. So I think similar answer to like what Susie provided earlier, it is kind of a case-by-case scenario. I have had situations in my building where 2 residents in a single memory care apartment where the husband completely cognitively fine, no issues whatsoever, still does his own taxes, still does everything himself. The wife cognitively impaired, right? So he did have to make some adjustments just to abide by the state regulations for memory care. Certain things like toothpaste needs to be locked up, right? We give him a key so he can access it still, but it still needs to be locked up. So as long as we can accommodate and come up with that game plan, like absolutely. And the same goes for any of my fellow communities here in town is we try to collaborate with you to make sure we can come up with something that works for you guys.
I've called a few other houses, and they instantly say absolutely not. They have to be separated. You have to rent 2 rooms. And so my parents are at that dilemma because they don't want to be separated, because my dad knows my mom so well. She doesn't understand why they would take someone with dementia away from the person she's been married to for 40 years.
Yeah, I can't speak for those communities, but I know at least for Susie and myself who have IL, AL, and memory care, we know for certain that we will work with you to come up with a solution that works for you guys.
Thank you.
Hi. So not to get too personal with this, but for those of us who don't happen to have a pot of leprechaun gold sitting collecting dust in the closet, I'm curious, what are some of the ways that the residents find to be able to pay the monthly fees for these communities?
I'll happily address that. Senior living in Northern Nevada is considered private pay. But part of our role is to help you uncover the financial resources, things that you may not have thought about. So one of the biggest questions is, well, does Medicare pay for any of this? No. Medicare is the federal health program managed by each of the states. It does not cover room and board. So we look at Social Security, retirement, investments. We look at veteran status because people may be entitled to veteran benefits. We'll suggest you take a look at a life insurance policy if you have it, because some, I believe their universal life policies can be cashed out and utilized as you desire. So all of those resources then can come together to cover it. And sometimes you need to call for assistance from family. If cost is the number one deciding factor, there are other options besides the senior living communities in the area, and those are lower income apartment complexes. And then if care is necessary, there are a multitude of residential areas, homes that are called group homes. So we know that there is cost involved. You just need to look at all of those resources. And that's what we do. We help uncover that for you. Maybe you have I'm just going to use an example, an extensive coin collection. Well, maybe that is important to maintain your health, your safety, your quality of life, and peace of mind for everybody. Yeah, we'd like you to hang on to that coin collection, but sometimes it's important to know there's value in that and make wise choices about best use of that value.
Thank you, Susie. Did you have someone over there, Jeff? And Lisa, do we have someone else on this side? No more questions on this side? Yes, down the back.
What is the cost range for each category? Independent living, assisted living, memory care?
The range really does, on the independent living side, it's very much dictated by the size of your apartment. So that is, most of us are not, it's not like an a la carte. We're very inclusive, so we're trying to make things simple for you. So your utilities and everything is included in that. So I would say across the board here in Reno, you can probably start to look at studios at $3,500, and then the larger units, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, things like that get closer to maybe 1,100 square feet. Some places even have larger. Then you're looking in the more 6,000, 7,000. It can get high. So, and it just depends on your income stream, really. So it's good to shop around, absolutely, because you're going to be able to find different price points in different communities.
I think also just doing a cost comparison to see what the difference is where you're living now, because we forget about that roof that has to be replaced, the house maintenance, our property taxes and all those things that we won't have, shopping for food, all of those disappear when we move into a community. So I think actually that seminar that we referred to from last year actually has a cost analysis sheet where you can put what your current costs are and then compare it to a community to see what the difference might be.
And the range for assisted living and memory care?
Well, I know for our assisted living, we begin at $6,500. And then for the larger units, we actually do have, especially popular with couples, if one person is needing those will start at about $7,500. Now, be aware that most places have levels of care, and that is where that medical screening occurs, where we work with your doctor, we understand what the needs are or the needs of your loved one, and then that is still assessed above that rent. Medication management may be necessary, especially in memory situations. People are not able to manage their medications on time. That will have a fee attached. That ranges across the board. So it really is very individual to different properties.
Thank you, Lisa. Memory care? Susan,
I don't have memory care.
What is memory typically for this area, for Northern Nevada? What does that start at?
The same is true for memory care, with a base unit price based on square footage of the unit, and then assessment levels for care. Typically, memory care starts at around $6,000 a month, and then care levels can range from maybe $400 to maybe $3,500 additional.
Thank you.
Is there such thing as an association of independent living places?
Not that I'm aware of, and I've been in the industry for several years. We, as representatives from any service related to seniors come together on a monthly basis for what we call Marketers Exchange. And guests are always welcome. So it's a consortium of representatives from the communities in town and other services like safety squads and home health, hospice, etc. And so you're free to attend those. They're typically the third or fourth Wednesday of every month, and they start at 8 a.m. And if any of you are interested in that, you can chat with any of the communities, and we can give you information regarding that. But as far as a general association, not that we're aware of.
There is a national one. It's Argentum, and what that is a consortium of all senior living communities across the country. So companies that own senior living, whomever the entity is. So yeah, it's called Argentum. They just had a meeting in Phoenix. They invite speakers on gerontology, but it tends to be more at the more like management CEO level. But they very, very active. You can join it. You can then put if you so choose, you can be involved in legislation. They have a very, of course, active lobbying group in DC.
Thank you, Lisa. I just learned something new. Do we have any more questions before we wrap up? Yep, just over here.
Hi, I'm Ovidia. I actually work as a liaison for Sierra Specialty Pharmacy, but I hold an administrator's license. And there is an association. It is called, I don't know how active they are right now. I'm not a part of that one right now, but it's the Nevada Healthcare Association and Center for Senior Living.
Thank you for sharing that. Any last questions? No? So I would really like us all to give a round of applause to our fantastic residents and community staff. Thank you all so much for being here and being willing to do this, putting yourself out there to help our community. We so appreciate it. And thank you all for being here and learning, and hope to see some of you on the upcoming tour. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and hopefully see you all next month.